We've now scraped 1 point from the last 24. Remember when we needed 3 wins from 12? We still need 3 from 6, which, given our current trajectory, feels like asking a goldfish to solve a Rubik's Cube. What's Romero distraught because he couldn't save our sinking ship, or because his twisted knee made him cry for Argentina? Either way, how did Robbie keep smashing into our lot and only get 1 yellow? The ref was abysmal. Of course he was. But fans are blaming refs and others and alleging conspiracies when it's us. It's all about us. I'm increasingly convinced that Muani is some kind of sophisticated prank, and Richy connects with the ball with all the thudding authority of a polite cough in a library. Verival, he looked lost at 10, and Simmons was ignored until the 85th minute for reasons RDZ couldn't explain with anything approaching logic or credibility. Why don't managers fancy Xavi? The ghost of Johan Lange haunts this mess. That January complacency looks like negligence. 3 months on, we haven't won a game, players aren't coming back, Kudus and Romero are out for the season, and we're sinking ever deeper into the mire. De Zerbi has only had 5 minutes with this group of losers, but his face on the touchline betrayed a man thinking he'd inherited a building riddled with rising damp. We'll try and bring you some sunshine through the murk. It won't be easy. Strap in. It's Nice One, Cyril.
Nice one, Cyril.
So welcome to Nice One, Cyril. I'm Simon Lipson, an impressionist who won't be wasting his time on a soon-to-be redundant De Zerbi impression. Legendary journalist Julie Welch is here, a lyrical, inventive wordsmith who's run out of words to describe our team. Kev Acott, who failed in his duty as a father not only by forcing his daughter to become a Spurs fan, but also by insisting she accompany him to every dismal, heartbreaking disappointment at the Lane. And Eady Hurley, the said daughter of the said Kev, who, despite the mental and emotional scars inflicted by her negligent father, is making her debut on the show. So, welcome one and all. I tell you what, let's start with Eady. Let's ease you in gently, Eady. Why are Spurs so shit?
Imagine if I had the right answer for that concisely. But we've been asking ourselves that for a long time, haven't we? Some of us. I'm not convinced, I think, like a lot of people are, that it's purely a lack of quality on the pitch. I think in some ways we have the strongest team that we've had since the Poch era and the most options. Obviously, there are many of them that I would sick of a lot of them as people and players. But I think it's deeper than that. I think we might just be a championship level team that had Harry Kane for a long time, but it feels like something at the heart of Tottenham that we can't get, whether that's the board or the culture. I'm not sure, but I don't think it's as simple as our players aren't good enough.
That's a good point, really, isn't it? That Harry and Sonny papered over a lot of the cracks that were appearing over the last few years. Kev, that Sunderland defeat just felt inevitable as soon as they scored, really. It was a lucky goal. I thought that was going wide. That is a sort of a scuff shot. You know, let's let the guy run wherever he wants and take a shot. Why don't we do that? That's a good idea. So they let him do that, and it was going wide, and then it hit Van der Ven and bobbled in. No blame could be laid at the feet of Kinski. But as soon as that went in, did you feel like I did that that's it, really?
Yeah, and I just found myself sort of deflating, really, like a balloon. All the air went out, all the energy went out. And that second half, I couldn't care less watching it during the second half, really, what was going on. It just felt horrible. And it was even more horrible because, as ever, there were glimpses of something better in the first half. there were just a few signs that maybe things are just looking a little bit better. And then, no, we just collapsed in the second half. And it was awful, awful.
It was awful. I wonder if we're kind of, what's it called? Confirmation bias. We're looking for this De Zerbi bounce. And so we thought that they weren't playing that badly. And I was prepared to concede that just to make myself feel better. But in the great scheme of things, we had a couple of patches. I suppose we attacked a bit better here and there, didn't actually create much worth tuppence. And in the end, it was like we've seen this story play itself out time and again.
Every week. Well, first off, I'd like to say that Alan Shearer, weeks, even months ago, just commented that Spurs aren't a good team. And I think that is true. I don't think the players have the quality necessary. Or, maybe one or two did or still do, but they are surrounded by mediocrity, championship-style players. But what I would like to do before we go on further is a missive came in for me today from a Mr. S. Perryman of Wiltshire, lastly of Tottenham. And it says, rang the Samaritans today. Option 1, financial problems. Option 2, relationship issues. Option 3, bereavement counselling. Option 4, new line now available for Spurs fans, but be prepared for a long wait.
Look, first of all, fabulous name dropping as ever, but Steve's spot on. There were lots of things that came out of this match, none of them particularly positive. We've got the ref to talk about, we've got Muani to talk about, but I want to just quickly talk about Romero. Now, I think we all believe he's a top player. He's won the World Cup, for Christ's sake. And at his best for us, he's been stupendous. I'm not sure he's been at his best for us for a long time. And he's been occasionally reckless, irresponsible, and we've talked about him dithering on the ball from time to time. And then, of course, he got himself injured. We now learn, of course, he's out for the rest of the season. And the poor fellow was crying his eyes out because he couldn't help Spurs anymore. Or was that the reason? What was, because my immediate reaction was something completely different. What was your take on that?
In the moment, it was pure heartbreak. I love him. I love him as a player. I think he's been amazing for us. But this will become clear that I'll stick up for the players that I like beyond all reason. And I felt that it's a lazy cliche, this that he can't hold his temper, and that this year has been so much worse for him in terms of discipline than before, which said to me that it's a managerial issue, not a Romero issue. But I think that may sadly be the last time we see him in a Spurs shirt. That might be our last moment with him. And at this point, I'm not sure that's the worst thing. I think, as you say, that was probably fear for Argentina more than anything else, which is, fair enough to a degree, but you would love 10% of that passion for Tottenham. And I also think I've been frustrated with him even when he's doing well for slowing games down. And I'm sure that he's been coached to do that if play starts with him to stop and let everyone. But there's so many times we've been, a goal down, 10 minutes to the end, and he gets the ball and he stops and he looks around and you're just screaming at him to do what he can do or to give it to someone else that can.
Yeah. Or lump it. Just lump it into the mixer. We've all said this, haven't we, Kev? That this sort of dallying on the ball, even in moments when we're desperate and we need to get up the field. I've often thought, look, that he's buying into his own publicity as the guy who plays through the lines, whatever the fuck that means. He plays through the lines. But the number of times he's going to play a brilliant ball through that's somehow game-breaking is minimal. So he might just as well lump it, or as Eady says, give it to someone who's going to do something with it. What it all means now, of course, is that he's out for the season, probably out forever. And it means we've got Danso, who I think all of us rather like for his no-nonsense-ness, and Dragusin, who we don't like for his shitness. I actually see this as a sort of an advantage, because I think we need people who are just bloody-minded, difficult bastards like Danso. We don't need dilly-dallying blokes who have a tendency to get into trouble with refs.
Yeah, I was just thinking when Eady said she was heartbroken as he came off, how flat I was feeling. I felt nothing when he came off at all. And I think that says more about, well, maybe more about me being a complete psychopath, but I think it says more about the team as a whole and just how difficult it is to separate yourself from this just depression that we're all in and that the team are obviously in. Thinking about it now, I feel sorry for him, even if he was, thinking about the World Cup and about Tottenham. That's okay. I do understand that. Part of my not feeling much was I don't think he is good enough. He will move to another Premiership, to one of the leading teams in Italy or Spain, no doubt, in the summer. And that's the slowing things up, I think, doesn't necessarily come from him or didn't originally. I think that's how he was coached. I don't know. If he never plays for us again, I don't mind us in the next 7 games. I don't mind. He's been very, very good at times. He's much more talented than he's appeared to be. So he's never totally given his best to us, I think. The worry, of course, is that he's going to give his best to someone else, ideally abroad. But yeah, if he's going to go, he's going to go. That's fine.
Eady is obviously upset to lose Romero. She's kind of pro player. Kev is indifferent. I don't care either, really. When he came off, I thought, oh, stop that fucking nonsense. And I think I can't remember what you said on our WhatsApp group, but it was pretty damning and dismissive of that nonsense, that performative bullshit.
I think I might have said something like it was self-regarding and Porro's not the only performative wanker in the squad. I will say this. I mean, there was one very touching moment. I don't know if everybody missed it, but as he was going off blubbing, Mickey van der Ven kissed the top of his head, which I thought was so sweet. I mean, clearly the two of them have been in cahoots the whole season and together conspired to ruin everything. Half of my reaction was fuckety bye. And the other half of my reaction was thinking, oh God, I remember him against Newcastle, that fantastic, rather slightly shabby bicycle kick. He dragged us to an away point. And in the final in Bilbao, the way he vanquished Maguire, he was fabulous. So I'm just very torn. I think, there is a fabulous player there, but obviously he's not interested in doing it for us. He's not committed because he thinks he can get somewhere better. I don't know. I mean, half of me hopes he doesn't. The half of me hopes he's punished for his recklessness and all the red cards and all the time he's got us into trouble.
I felt like that Man United red card was really unforgivable. It was so unnecessary. We were doing okay in that game. Everything was fine. I'm not saying we were great, but we were doing okay. And he put his foot over the ball, he raked the guy's shin and went straight up. He didn't even argue. He knew it was stupid and he knew straight away. And he must have known what he was doing. We're looking for a captain. We're looking for a leader. He's been that some of the time, but I don't think all of the time. And that's not really good enough.
He was a leader last season, I think, when it counted. The run up to the Europa League final. That was when he came into his own. But this is completely off the point, I know, but my other hobby horse at the moment is I wish that they'd kept Son for another year. And okay, decrepitude set in, lost about 5 yards of pace, but I think he would have been a much better influence. He still had it in him to do things. I don't think the season would have been half as much of a basket case as it has been if Son had been able to stay. Now, people may not agree with me. I've said it to people and they said, oh, well, his legs had gone, wasn't any use to us. But I think his personality would have had a really good effect. And we might not be in the trouble that we are now if Son had stayed for one more season.
Do we call that pastoral care? That he might have been quite handy in that respect rather than as a player on the pitch? Looking after the boys.
Yeah, he probably wouldn't have been able to play every game, but there would have been enough of his presence. And he still had, he still has his talent. I mean, he's scoring for fun in the States. Mind you, I mean, it's not quite the standard of Premier League.
Eady, help me out here, because we've been doing this podcast for the whole period that Randall Muani has been a Spurs player. And for the life of me, none of us, and I think we're not alone here, I suspect a couple of million of us, cannot understand what this loan is achieving. Is a player who came to us with a reputation. He's the guy who missed the open goal in the World Cup final that would have won it, but that's by the by. But now you can see why he missed that open goal. He's not a striker. He's not a finisher. He scored about 4 goals in 30 matches. He's not a winger, as we discovered. He kept running into people at the weekend and has been doing that all season. He can't pass. He can't hold the ball up. Give us a fresh perspective on Muani that we've all been missing.
I'm afraid I don't have one. He's not one of the players that I will go to bat for and have a rogue opinion on. I would say of the inexplicably 3 not quite strikers yesterday, he was probably the best of the 3. Is a heavy curve to be grading on. None of them were good enough. I don't think.
What did you make of? I totally agree. What did you? Solanke doesn't look like he's at the races at the moment. What did you make of Richy as a left winger? We saw him be a nuisance in the Europa League final in left wing because he wasn't having to do anything other than be a fucking nuisance. But when you want him to go beat men and have a shot, and he was just pathetic, really, wasn't he?
He was. I find him so frustrating, and it's almost more frustrating that every time I decide, no, I'm done with you, we need to sell you as quick as possible, then he scores a wonder goal that never affects how many points we get in that match. It's always when we're already 2 down. I think he has moments, and it's great to have someone, like you say, that causes trouble and can be annoying and be difficult. But Sunderland had a better example of that on their pitch through Robbie. Obviously, I think we all would agree that I feel like he deserved a red and clearly isn't the best striker in the world. But I would take him over Richarlison yesterday's match.
Your dad said the same. You've obviously been talking, you and your dad, about this because, Robbie is an absolute, he's a wrecking ball. But, he puts himself around. He certainly discomfited our central defenders. He was clearly gunning for Romero, Kev. I took him out very early on. He then continued to smash into everybody. Yes, he should have had, 16 different yellow cards. Let's quickly talk about the ref. Rob Jones. I rarely know the ref's name. It was a shitty performance, that, wasn't it? That's not the reason we lost. But even the penalty shout, you could see straight away that wasn't a penalty. Muani was indicating for a corner. He wasn't claiming it. No one was claiming it. Only the ref saw that.
Yeah, I mean, it was... I mean, we've been on the receiving end of some terrible refereeing all season, and that was the worst by a long way. It's so difficult, isn't it, to sort of disentangle the poor refereeing and the bad luck that we have from our poor performance. Would we have got a draw or won with a different referee making different decisions? We'd still have been crap, but possibly the result could have changed. Yeah, it was just terrible. But just going back to Brobby, we used to go and watch Woking. When my children were younger, we lived in Woking. We used to go and watch the conference games, and Brobby was like every single conference number 9 in every single conference team. And I absolutely agree. We would have been better if only we had him up front, being annoying in the way, like you said, like Richarlison was, or Richarlison can be. He must be a nightmare to play against. And if only we had maybe just swapping him for Richarlison or swapping him for Solanke or Muani, whatever, could have made the difference. And I don't want Tottenham to have a player like him, from a romantic, but I do. Yes, right now, yeah. In the long run, when we recover and become the wonderful romantic football team that we know we can. No, I wouldn't go anywhere near him. But right now, he was a bloody nightmare. And
he really was. I'm thinking, is it Billy Whitehurst, Julie? Was he not the most fearsome, scary bastard ever to play football?
I'm not
Come
that old. I mean, you're probably talking about somebody who played in, a knitted jersey in 1930.
No, he's more recent than that. I'm going to look him. I'm going to Google him in a minute. But we're going to move on. We talked about this before, Julie, but I think it's such an ingrained problem now, which is the habit of losing. And I think it shows its face much more when we've let the first goal in, which is pretty well every game. We don't seem to have any comeback, really. I know we did earlier in the season here and there, Man City and Newcastle, but now it looks like that's it. We can't do anything about this. My contention is a lot of this Ange revisionism still on Twitter, but it started under him, didn't it? This losing habit. We finished 17th last season. Let's put it in perspective.
I think when Rob White was on this show, he did point out that, losing had become a habit, and came out with a very nice quote from a manager whose name escapes me now. Losing has become a habit, and if the way fans feel reflects the way players actually feel, then I wouldn't be surprised if that were true, because I just expect to lose now. I used to look forward to Spurs games. I thought, we got a chance, might win here. It's an ordeal now, actually, to think of, oh, God, I've got to go and watch Spurs play. I expect to lose. And I think maybe, the teams that has the players' mood affected us? Are we drawing from what the players feel? I don't know. That's probably a psychological question, which Kev is probably more equipped to answer than I am.
The disease is feeding on itself now, so that wherever you turn, fans are down, players are gone, and it's a death spiral. We go back to Johan Lange's smug, idiotic January statement where he said we don't need more players. The injured players are coming back. There's no point in signing players who can't help us in either the short or long term. So we got rid of our top scorer. We bought a bloke who's turned out to be absolute pants, and a left back who we play under sufferance. This is a kind of a negligence of the type we talk about, this corporate negligence. He should be put in prison, shouldn't he, for this? It's a insanity. 12 fit men available and 12 men down. What was he thinking?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it sort of felt in that period like they didn't know whether or not they were going to hold on to Frank. I think I felt a little bit condescended by the Gallagher buy as well. Like, I think they think of us as, they know that we need a playmaker, and that's what we've been after, and we're after more creativity. But it's like how every manager we get has to make a statement about how they love attacking football and they're going to play forward-facing football. And it means nothing, regardless of who they are or what their style is. And then buying someone like Gallagher felt like that'll keep you happy, won't it? And let's not address anything else. Last night was atrocious. He was the worst player on the pitch, I thought.
He was horrendous, and he stayed on for 85 minutes, which kind of beggars belief. And it brings me, you talked about a playmaker, right? Now, Gallagher's not the guy. We didn't get hold of Eze. We didn't get hold of Gibbs-White. So we bought Simmons. Kev, this is one of the great mysteries right now. We know he's a gifted player. We know he's struggled a bit here and there. We've seen glimpses of greatness. When you haven't got any players who can pass the ball apart from Archie Gray in anywhere up from the halfway line forward, why would you persist with good runners, like Berraval, and you exchange him for Matt Sarr, who inspires no kind of excitement in terms of his technical ability and vision, and leave this kid on the bench when, if anyone's going to open the door, it would be him?
I don't get it. I think, I want to let De Zerbi off. I'm sort of reluctant to criticise him given the shit show that he's inherited. that whole team, that whole lineup yesterday didn't make sense to me. We talked earlier about the three almost strikers up front, Richy on one side, Muani on the other, and Lange floating about in the middle, and didn't work. It may have worked much better with a creative player like Xavi in the middle. Are we not seeing stuff about him? Is there? I think I was asking yesterday. Is it that behind the scenes he annoys managers in whatever way, that he's not committed in terms of training, or I don't know. And his explanation about bringing him on, he wanted to bring him on earlier, but he couldn't. It didn't make sense. I think that might have been about just language, really, but he didn't explain that particularly well. But not starting with him is the thing that needed explaining, and I don't know. I don't understand it. I think if we're going to win matches, we have to have our only real creative player starting. Because Gallagher, I just want to go on about Gallagher because I take it as a personal affront, Gallagher's form at the moment, because I was pleased. I was one of those people who was actually pleased because I'd seen him a couple of times for Palace and I really liked him. He stood out for me. And it was one of those, you sort of see someone and you think, I wish he played for us. And now I wish he just wouldn't come anywhere near. He was just, I absolutely agree that he was awful. The worst player on the pitch, pretty much has been totally anonymous every time he's played.
Yeah, like you, Kev, I was quite pleased we bought him. I thought engine room, that's what I'm thinking, engine room, with a bit of ability on the ball, but I've seen nothing. There was a tweet, I wish I had it here in front of me, but it was just saying Gallagher, we bought Gallagher, can't pass, can't head, can't run, can't tackle. And I thought, you know what? Not wrong. Not wrong. So far, he's not shown that. We know he's better than he's showing. Julie, I was just wondering, you're in the know. You know S. Perryman, for a start off. You're connected to everybody who matters. Is there any sort of intelligence, any info, some insight on why Xavi seems to piss off every manager to the point of just being signed to the bench?
He's such an insipid, amorphous figure that I've heard no opinions on him. And that is the thing. He's got no personality. And you can tell when he's on the pitch. I mean, buzzes around in a really pretty way. What's at the end of it? We should never have got rid of PEH. Gallagher is sort of 1.1% of what PEH brought to us. And one reason that Xavi appears to have no personality is that, the players around him don't give him any personality. I mean, going back to Brian Brobby, the reason he looks so bloody good is that the players around him actually, do stuff for him. They set things up for him. We just haven't got that structure.
No.
I don't like blaming players. Having just been spectacularly rude about Xavi, I just really don't think he's very good. And it comes back again to what everyone was saying about Muani. There's no structure in the team. It's just, it's just sort of glued together with bits of sellotape at the moment. That was what destroyed Thomas Frank. He had to move bits and pieces around and stick on bits of cardboard and buttons here and there because there was just sort of nothing else to do about it. Poor old Igor Tudor inherited more of a mess and obviously didn't know how to deal with it either. And not that it was a fortunate thing for him, but in a way it was lucky for him that his dad died because he had a good excuse to get out with honour. And now we've got RDZ, who is facing exactly the same problems. And I've been looking at photos of him over the last week or so, or 2 weeks. And from being this sort of little round-faced, smiley person, with a big beam on his face is now kind of a tragic mask as he realizes just what he's got himself into. It is just like, the Japanese tragedy mask at the theatre. It is sad. So Tottenham this season is basically, I think, just succeeding in destroying 3 probably quite decent managers because of the fault of those above them, namely our director of football,
there's this complete lack of joined up thinking at the top. So we had Ange, won a trophy, but let's face it, he wasn't much cop. Get rid of Ange. Frank, who was a kind of polar opposite, cautious, steady, what do we call him, Julia? A supply teacher. Yeah, with his funky shoes and long hair. And then we had this madness of Igor Tudor. And then the more you look at that, the more you think, what? And then now we've got RDZ, who is, after all, a manager of repute. But this is really the crux of where we are. We started from 17th with Ange, and it's just getting worse because there's absolutely no central thought going through the hierarchy to suggest this is what we're trying to do. And as you said earlier, that just saying we want to play the Spurs way doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, and I do hate to admit it, but I think I am somewhat of an Ange revisionist, and I think sacking him was a big mistake, which is obviously very easy to say now. But Dad will attest that I was saying it for a year and was never happy with Frank. And I think all of this lack of cohesion and vision from the top that's resulted in the position that we're in now means that when De Zerbi was talking about, not being a coach and knowing that there isn't enough time to put his style of play in place, I thought that made a lot of sense to be, more of the therapist and the cheerleader for the last 7 games. But I'm not sure that's what we saw last night. It looks like that there were moments of mild improvement that looks like they'd been coached, but then a lot of players who were worse than we've seen them in a long time. Van der Ven in particular stands out, and Bergvall, who have been fairly good in a world of crap. And I wonder why you wouldn't. I think I saw it as, if you're coming in this, your 2 options are either to knuckle down and play this, anti-woke Sean Dyche football and just get unattractive draws and wins, or throw it all out and bring in every youth player that we have sat on the bench, because why not? Like, it felt like retrying a version of everything we've seen before last night, and I don't know why you would expect it to work.
Can't you expect De Zerbi to look at the senior players who remain, who are not injured, and think, I can cobble this lot into something? But they've shown too many times that you can't cobble them into anything. So why not give Williams Barnett a run out? Why not try, I don't know, Callum Olasese or someone like that? It just makes no sense. Look, perhaps for his first game he thought this is the safe option, but I wonder whether that will change. For Brighton, we'll talk about Brighton later. What I want to do now, we've got a few stupid tweets, obviously. We've got Room 101 coming up a little bit later. This is called trailing, isn't it, Julie? Trailing stuff.
I believe it is.
It?
Yeah, you're not trailing.
Thank you.
Trailing.
What am I doing? Being boring. Okay.
No. I just said you're not trailing, you're dangling. And take that how you will.
Or I will dangle a bit more for you now. We're going to work our way through the team that was put out yesterday, and some of the subs and some of the other available players. Because we were talking on our WhatsApp group yesterday, post-match, about how we classify players. And so I think we came up with 3 essential classifications, right? One was quality player, but he's playing shit at the moment. Then we have okay players, and they're all playing shit at the moment, and shit players who are playing shit. Let's work our way through the team. I'll start, shall I? Because I want to start with Kinski. I want to give Julie every opportunity to flap here, but I just want to say Kinski did nothing wrong yesterday. I thought he looked solid. For my money, keep him in. And he can even kick a football, which is fantastic, unlike Flappy, who just flaps it into touch. Julie, Kinski and Flappy, how would you grade them?
Well, I would say with Kinski, we're going slightly off category here, because I think he is good, sort of average to good at the moment, and not playing shit, Whereas Flappy, who was good last season up to a point, no, maybe he wasn't. Flappy is category 3 for me. Shit and playing shit.
Kev, let's move on to your friend of mine, Pedro Porro. Classify him. He may not fit into any of these.
You know what I think about Porro. He's the man who most annoys me in football outside some of our friends down the road. I know shit and playing shit and happily get rid of him.
Yeah, I concur with that. And why managers consistently consider him to be a top player, I do not know. One good pass every 5 matches. And there was a moment in the Sunderland match where players went round him twice within a minute, as though he wasn't there. What the fuck has happened to Destiny Udogie? And where would you place him?
Dad and I were talking about Udogie before this, actually. I was saying I think he's the player that I have the least opinion on, which probably tells you something. I don't think he's good enough for us, but I suppose that depends on how good you think we are. He's mediocre. He never makes extraordinary mistakes, and he's up and down and inconsistent like they all are, but he's mediocre, playing poorly.
All right, fair enough. I don't know. I felt he was a good player when he joined us, and I don't know whether injuries have stripped him of any semblance of ability. I don't know. Now, we've probably talked about Romero. I think we can put him in the class but playing shit category. What about Van der Ven? Julie, now I know he's got a good haircut and everything, and, you know, that's fine. But I'm just wondering, is he as good as we all thought he was? Or is he actually not the best central defender in the world who's just fast as a whippet?
I think that I'd use a horse racing analogy here. He hasn't trained on, you know, brilliant 2-year-old, favourite for the Derby, and then, you know, sort of faded after Tattenham Corner. He was exciting when he joined us, wasn't he? Then he got that bad injury. And he's sort of been off and on injured ever since. I mean, when he scored that magnificent goal earlier this season, sort of breaking out of defence, try him in the Gareth Bale mode, you know? Let him barge forward, do all that sort of stuff. He's obviously got a shot in him. But as a centre-back, no. I mean, you know, he's just Romero's mate. Romero's kid brother, basically. Been led astray, yeah, I think, by Romero.
I hear you. All right, so I think we're putting him in the okay but playing shit category.
Yeah.
Let's move on. Kev, I think I'm giving you a bit of a dolly here. This is a simple catch in the slips for you. Archie Gray.
Not necessarily, because
hello,
Archie, I'd put him in the sort of the middle. I put him in the middle category in terms of quality. I think he's a good player. He's not a great player. I don't think he will be. He's a good player. Yesterday he wasn't great at all. I wouldn't say he was shit, but he wasn't particularly close to his best at all. So I worry that because of his commitment, because he has looked so much better than most around him, we're slightly overrating him. So I would say good player, happy for him to start. I wouldn't be happy for him to go, certainly at the moment. But worryingly not good yesterday, and I hope that's just a one-off.
That he wasn't played where he's been most effective yesterday. He seemed to be a bit deeper.
Yeah.
I feel like when he's going forward and playing passes around and going past people, I think he's a much better player. Berival.
I really rate him as a player. I worry that it might be similar to what you were saying about Gray, where because he's been around for so long, and I think between the two of them, they have so much more experience than other players their age because of the injuries in there. But I think he's exciting. I think at his worst, I worry that he's a bit of a Gallagher and will run around and sort of try things and do little flicks in it, but nothing will come of it. But I think there could be a really good player in there.
Julie, so I was going to give Richy to you, but I think we can safely say shit and playing shit. Solanke, I don't know what's going on. He's probably just not quite recovered that Solanke form that made him quite a compelling centre forward for us.
That fantastic scorpion kick against Man City remains the highlight. His his sole highlight of the season, as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what's going on there. You know, has his head been turned? Who's it trying to sign him? Is it Newcastle? Something like that? Or is that just agent talk? I don't know. But, I mean, you know, like a lot of the other players in the squad, probably just wants out. There's a point I'd like to make before we move on to the next player. Lange, by the way, bang average and playing shit at the moment. A point that it just crossed my mind when we were talking on the WhatsApp group. What we don't have is a shit player who's actually quite useful. I mean, I'm thinking somebody like Sissoko. If you remember Sissoko, who ran, you know, about 500 miles in the 2018-2019 Champions League campaign. Or, I don't know, anybody remember Stefan Freund? I think he scored 1 goal in his entire Spurs career. But he was useful, he did stuff, you know. We just don't have that kind of guy. I don't mind a player being pretty crap if they're actually effective. I mean, I suppose that, you know, that takes the argument back to Robbie again, you know, shit but effective. We don't have any of those players at all.
In a way, you would hope that Pat and Gallagher would be those sorts of players. Not very gifted, but capable of doing stuff that makes them useful. But really, I'd be happy to see them both go. Kev, I'm going to give you a job lot here. Danso, Spence and Palhinha.
Danso, good. And actually, when he gets a chance, playing pretty well. Yeah, happy with him. He's never going to be great, but he's all right. I've already
Jed Spence?
Potentially good, potentially better, somewhere between good and really good, I think. Hasn't really shown that. That's not all his fault, but again, if he were to be sold tomorrow, I'm all right with that.
And Palhinha, we're not going to keep him, are we? He's a very limited hacker.
He is, although he had 3 or 4 games earlier in the season where you thought, yeah, he is. You get maybe one of those sort of not great but effective players, but that seems to have gone. Neither great nor effective now. Yeah.
So I think I haven't quite been totting this up, but I think that the only players we really think are worth bothering with are, at the moment anyway, Kinski and Gray possibly, and Danso. Have I covered it? Have I missed anybody? And we are lacking a John Pratt, stroke Mr. Sissoko, and stroke Stefan Freund. All right, there we are. We're interested to hear our listeners' views on all of that. Let me just give you some idiotic tweets because I do enjoy this bit. And actually, this is a great tweet. It's a great tweet. It's about our friend Pedro. And someone tweeted, this was during the match, Porro operating his own personal open borders policy again. Awful defender. No defender at all, in fact. And I think that was rather good. Then we've got some of the conspiracy theory shit going on. Every team will roll over for West Ham and play like a cup final against us. They've all got it in for us. What about this one? Delighted for Harry, but it really annoys me how the entire world now appreciates Kane's generational talent all of a sudden, whilst neglecting his talent during his peak, capital letters, P-E-A-K, in 2017. Seems like Tottenham is the one club the footballing world will never give its flowers to, which is quite lyrical bollocks, isn't it? That's that one. And then we got, here's one that you probably could never have guessed, and luckily someone definitively tweeted, Johan Lange's position at THFC is under, capital letters, significant threat, regardless of whether the team stays in the league or gets relegated. Who knew? And finally, here's a bloke trying desperately hard to be funny and thinking he's making a great point, and it all got lost. It all just went up its own arse. Spurs fans are training to be stand-up comedians, as being a Spurs fan has become a liability.
What?
What? But what? Anyway, so there's your stupid tweets for this week. Now, we need to do a little bit of Room 101 before we get to Brighton. Eady, what have you got for us?
I really enjoyed thinking about this today, so much. But my initial thought was because Dad put his dad in, it would make sense for me to pop in the reason that I'm here, the reason that I have to support this team. But I think I'm going to go with the volume of the music before matches begin. Twitter in general and football Twitter. But if it has to be one, I think it's going to be Matty Cash. And not really, even though there are good reasons to dislike him, the sort of the England thing and that awful injury on Doherty forever ago. I just find him really irritating. I don't know why we're calling a grown man Matty. I don't know why his eyebrows look like that. So off he fucks.
I think you've nailed Matty Cash in a way that is quite unique and brilliant. So thank you for that. Julie, what have you got?
I'm choosing Martin Samuel this week. Now, normally I enjoy his copy very much in the Times. I think he's a very good writer. But it's that sort of portentous, doom-laden thing that he has written. Was it only yesterday that relegation for Tottenham would be as big a story as Leicester City's title win? And I just thought, oh, fuck off, Martin. We all know you're a West Ham supporter. Just, don't give it large. Please, please, write something else. So, yeah, sorry, Martin. Nice bloke.
I just want to put in a man I'd barely heard of 2 days ago and had to look up. I had to look him up on Wikipedia, which is the co-commentator on our match yesterday, Don Goodman, who I thought Don Goodman, didn't he play for QPR in the 70s? Or I didn't know who he was. And I didn't decide he's the most irritating co-commentator. I mean, Sky have a wealth of irritating co-commentators. He wasn't just biased, he was stupidly biased. And I'm not doing the conspiracy thing here at all. So the man played for Sunderland. He obviously loves Sunderland, which is fine. But don't such stupid things. So, yeah, Don Goodman, who apparently also played for Bradford. And according to the AI thing that I got when I put him into Google, he's known for a calm, analytical approach. Clearly not the case.
Do you know what I'm thinking? The perfect storm would be Peter Drury commentating and Don Goodman as co-commentator.
Yes.
It's too awful to contemplate. Now, I've got a couple of things. They're not football related. Well, they sort of are, because it's the kind of thing that people say on Twitter when they think they've made a conclusive and unarguable point. So someone will go, blah, 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 blah. I'll wait. Fuck off. And there's this other one. I don't know who needs to hear this, but look, the thing is, if you're going to start a tweet with, I don't know who needs to hear this, the answer is probably nobody. Keep it to yourself. Now, there we are. That's my room 101. I've got so many of those Twitter things. God help me. Brighton. Eady, we're playing Brighton at the weekend. I just am filled with a sense of kind of almost like a comforting dread now, because it feel like there's no hope. And it's fine. I'll be leaving on 83 minutes, going back to my bike, thinking that third Brighton goal was a bit lucky, but otherwise, we nearly got a penalty shout. That's how I'm viewing it. Are you more optimistic than me?
No, I don't think I am. I think yesterday was my first glimmer of optimism for a while. No, see, I say that. I think for me, it's about the period of time before a match at which I become optimistic. So in the old days, it would be the week before you'd be thinking about it and excited about it. And yesterday it was on the day. I suspect it will take me to the last 10 minutes. Because otherwise you just wouldn't watch, would you? No, we still would.
No.
I mean, we've been saying this about every match for the last year. We have to win this. And I don't see how we do. I don't mind if it's scrappy and unattractive and if we finally get an undeserved penalty. But we cannot walk away with no points again.
Yeah. So are you pessimistically optimistic for a point or 3?
I would love it if we got a point. I couldn't argue how we would come away with a win or a draw. Win not as good. We simply aren't, and there aren't signs of improvement. But maybe De Zerbi's seen enough, and I can't help but imagine, that there will be a turnaround and this will be it now. All will be well.
You have really ruined her, haven't you? What have you done?
You've
completely destroyed her ability for constructive thinking. What's wrong with her? So Eady is thinking we're going to win the next 6 matches and finish mid-table. I'm thinking we're going to lose 3-0 to Brighton. Where do you stand in the great scheme of things?
I don't know. I want to adopt a sort of Don Goodman-like calm analytical approach to this, but the thing is, I felt that optimism yesterday, and it continued most of the first half. I can't justify this, but I feel it's got to turn around, isn't it? Something's got to happen. He's going to have another week to work on the useless bastards, and we'll be all right. Yeah, I'm going to go. You can see where she got it from, can't you?
I can safely say that for this entire run since the new year, when we haven't won a match, you've predicted a win every week. This does not augur well. Julie, what's the score?
I may have to leave the country, actually. I don't think I can even bear to watch it. I think it's just going to be... Just think of what Brighton have done to us in the past when we actually had good players and a good team and a good setup. You know, they often destroy us anyway. They destroyed us when we were good. So what's going to happen? I don't know. Oh, yeah, I'd be surprised if we got away with less than shipping 4. I don't see any of our strikers scoring. Having said that, of course, Richy always manages to, surprise us. Might be 4-1. Richy,
4-1.
sort of 84 mins, something like that. We're just rubbish. It's like the relegation season in the 70s. In the end, everybody just laid down and died. And I think that's what's happening. As you said earlier, it's a death spiral. We just got to sit through it. And that's the best I can do, I'm afraid.
Well, that was a damning indictment of all things Spurs. I mean, I think it will be 3-0 to Brighton. And I just can't see any way we can score a goal, win a match, hold on to a lead. None of that stuff applies to us anymore. It's doom and gloom. There we are. All right, look. Thank you, everybody, for joining us on Nice One, Cyril, today. My thanks specifically to Eady. Now, what we always do when we get a debutante is we give them marks out of 10. Kev, can you make it up to your daughter? These 20 years of misery you've inflicted on her, give her a proper mark.
I'd clearly 10 out of 10, but then she's had very, very good parenting.
I would dispute that. Julie, what are we giving Eady?
I think she's magnificent. 10 out of 10. 11 out of 10 even.
10 out of 10.
No.
It's unusual for me because I mark out of 100 and I usually give a 10 because I don't like our new guests to get carried away with themselves. But you know what? I'm giving you an 86. So that's how damn good you were today. Thank you, Eady. And sorry about your dad. That's just the way things go. We don't choose our parents, right? Now, thank you for joining us. We are on Twitter at Nice One Cyril Pod. Why not give us a follow and engage with us there? We have a website, www.niceonecyrilpodcast.co.uk. Lots of stuff on there. There's a picture, brand new, spanking brand new, of Eady and all the rest of us. And where else? Yes, give us a follow, subscribe, all that malarkey on the podcast platform of your choosing. That's it. We will reconvene at some convenient moment to moan and groan. Until then, come on you Spurs.
Nice one, Cyril.